I'm your host, Rhonda Liebig, and through our humanitarian movement, hashtag Speaker Locking Arms, we do believe that we are here to find safety through collectiveness and community. And I'm here to discover the truth about how can we keep opening those voices to stop the blaming and shaming. All of this is stuff that I deal with at times, and I've dealt with a lot through my life, is trying to open my voice. Everybody that comes in here, we're talking about purpose. If you are into understanding yourself and how you really want to show up out there and in your home, and so that you power up in your relationships and in business, if you have a business, I believe that we can have everything we want, but it's us believing it. It's us being our own beam of light so people feel magnetic to us instead of bouncing off. I used to have this thing where everybody would bounce off me and I didn't know why. And I was just thinking not too many nice thoughts about myself. I did a lot of shaming and blaming, and this is where this movement really, it means a lot to me. And I really do see that as a collective, I'm going to be working with other people that have communities also. And I want to bring people in, have these humanitarian conversations. I believe that we need this. Marla Tseng is a person that we brought in today from Fresh Talks Global Vision. And she's on a mission to help accomplish professionals who feel unfulfilled, reconnect with who they are beyond their job title, and discover what genuinely brings meaning, fulfillment, and purpose to their lives. Her work isn't simply about changing careers, it's about helping people reconnect with themselves so they can make courageous decisions that align with who they truly are. Marla, welcome in.
Hi, Rhonda. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
It is a pleasure to have you, my friend. We are talking about different modalities and the way you work. I can't wait to get in there. So I feel like this conversation is going to be perhaps, I'm thinking journal writing. I think we're going to have some awarenesses, anybody and everybody watching, that if you journal it and you put it down, you'll be able to start noticing things about yourself that you're ready for breakthroughs. Because I want this to be a conversation where we get to hear Marla's thoughts on the clients that she's working with and how utilizing that information, the trajectory of what she's really doing out there globally. If we think of the space of what we're doing for somebody, you never know how you're changing their life. It could be a client, it could be someone that you're speaking to at the store, it could be that you're doing a talk somewhere, but we never know how we're transforming somebody's life. And I do find all of this to be real serious. When I started the podcast 9 years ago, I just wanted to play and I want to talk about playful things. And so I kept that, but I also wanted to go deeper and deeper so that you feel like you're being served in the way of discovering something about yourself. Perhaps you're here, audience, as there's something that's really just doing with you. I know when I was younger, I wanted to do something. I didn't know what it was, but I thought that I was missing out on something, not FOMO, but I kept feeling like I was in the wrong place, the wrong family, the wrong this, the wrong that. And actually, I was in the right family. I learned so much and it was the perfect family, but there was something that I felt like I'm supposed to be doing something bigger in a mission. And I didn't know what that was until I came back. I came into this industry. I want to hold that. Let's get a little bit more about Marla here, and then we'll get on with the interview. So Marla guides professionals in getting clear on the type of work that lights them up through the use of human design, astrology, and other personal development tools so that they can feel more fulfilled in their work and can make a greater impact. This is a little bit older than some of the things you have been doing, Marla Tseng. Can you share with us what are you using? What are your tools that you're using? You're talking about human design, you're talking about astrology, and you have something new you're also doing. Can you share with us those tools that you're using so we can kind of get an idea of how to really open ourselves up to really start seeing ourselves and help ourselves move forward?
Sure. Well, my foundation is human design and astrology for sure. And at the same time, I have added on other tools that help with the getting past blocks or fears, resistance. And so I really love NLP and EFT tapping for that. And those are the latest tools that I've added on and that I use with my clients. And so, but like I said before, the foundation really is human design and astrology as well, because there's such magic in the charts. There really is. And when people realize that their deepest desires are in their charts, it's a huge validation for them. It really is. And that gives them a lot of courage, because then they know, oh, this isn't just some random thought that I have. It's something that I'm really meant to be doing or pursuing.
Okay, let's go in there deeper. Sometimes I get so stuck in an area, and I could stay there because I thought that's my mind. I'm just having a hard day. My morning is starting, this way because I'm having all these problems. I'm having all these woes. Now I know that if I feel that way, it's okay. And that's not me, that's just a space that I'm in. But I know that I can shift and change that. But I didn't know that. I thought I was really stuck in feeling yucky, and that how can I get out of it? Okay, I need to work out. And it just became this whole endless thing about moving. And if I kept moving, I felt safe. But I didn't know how to sit and be in quiet. I'd almost be scared to even fall asleep sometimes, because it was just that vibe of something just doesn't feel right. But the stuff you're talking about, those are tools. It helps people really feel like, here, wait, there actually is more to me than really what my brain is doing. Can we talk more about that? Just a little more deeper on what you do work with helping people move forward, and the tools. And I'll ask you some more questions if I need to, but kind of getting in there a little bit.
Yeah, of course. I work one-on-one with people. It's really, I love deep conversations where we talk about things that really matter. And so I just love how you started this podcast. It really spoke to me when, talking about meaning and purpose. And that's what so my background is as a lawyer. I was a lawyer for almost 14 years and in the corporate world. And I just didn't get to have those sorts of conversations for the most part. They were more side conversations, maybe here and there. And I realized that's when I would really feel alive. And it just wasn't enough of the day, right? And so with clients, they'll come in and they're feeling really unhappy with their work. They feel like they should be grateful for what they have, yes, but at the same time, it's just off. They're just not. It's not lighting them up, but they're afraid to burn things down, and especially if they have a really high-paying job, if they've worked their way up and have prestige and credibility and respect. And I understand all of that, because that's the journey that I also was on.
Yeah.
And so I'll bring out the charts, but it's not the first thing. First I really want to understand where they're coming from, what their experiences have been, what has motivated them to make decisions, because a big part of human design, for example, is understanding your decision-making style. Not everybody has the same decision-making style in human design, which is really interesting. And in both astrology and human design, any aspect that you look at can have a high road, high vibe, or low road, low vibe. And so I really love to explore that and see, okay, where is somebody with this part of their chart, and how can they become more aware of it, so that then they're working in the higher wisdom of that, right, to help them move forward. And so so yeah, it's a kind of, it ends up being free flowing, because I don't want to, it really depends on what they're bringing up. And then I look at their charts through the lens of what issues they're bringing, so that it's very relevant and practical. Because we could talk about so many things about the charts, but really what is going to help them the most in this moment.
Okay, I want to take a step back here. I had no idea that you were a lawyer. This is so cool, because what I really like about this is, first, that the professional space. You took that leap into doing something that is quite different, and you did it. So you're giving examples to people of like, hey, are you may be discovering that, like how how to build something that perhaps you haven't done, or you've been trying to do it and getting in there because you're like, I've seen that big range from, like, this is where I'm going, and like, here, wait, and stopping and pivoting. Because I'm a CPA, and I, did consulting the years that I was latter part of my years. I loved being with somebody and explaining, the ebbs and flows in business and helping people. And that felt really special, but it was preparing me for what I do now also. What I love is the lawyer part is I always thought about, and how does this connect, Marla? Because you actually really, why I want to bring this up is you have some really strong skills of being able to actually talk to somebody and have some insight. And I want to lift that a bit before we get in deeper in some other areas. So for me, what I understand, why I want to ask this question, I think it would help others also to understand really your superpowers and what you really do and the vision you can see in different layers. Because as a professional, being able to understand and watch, something that you're dealing with, within the courts or with somebody, you start really seeing more layers in the way you're asking questions and the way that you see the flow, and trying not to put too much judgment. It's all about strategy and working, and being able to also be a visionary where you can kind of see where you want to go, but how do you build it? And I think it's all with the industry that you're in. And what I love about this whole space of you being a lawyer is I want to ask you that what's the beginning experience of what you're doing now to this professional space of really thinking about the strategies, understanding perhaps how the mind works, to knowing how certain people can show up and act out on certain things? Because I think that's important in our industry, to understand when somebody's not authentically being truthful with themselves, and how to soften it to guide them, because you can start seeing those things. So to bridge those two, what is it that you learned in that space as being a lawyer that really helps you with building something so wonderful and safe for somebody that you're coaching? And I don't know if you say you're coaching, but what you're doing is you're really building something for somebody. What's that bridge there with those years of doing being a lawyer?
Yeah, that's really a good question. I hadn't thought about it in that way.
Uh-huh.
But as you were talking, I thought, when I was a lawyer, I did compliance work, and I would help companies deal with federal regulations, basically. And it was a very step-by-step process, and it was very important to ask all of the right questions to get all of the information I needed to then be able to apply the law and see what the likely outcome could be, whether we could move forward with the project or not. And so it's really critical to gather all of that was honestly, that was one of the hardest parts, was getting all the facts, getting all of that information. And in the work that I do now, part of that is getting the charts, getting the right birth information, and then making sense of it for myself, but then also as I'm helping to guide clients through their own charts so that it makes sense to them. And this is something I learned, because in the beginning, I would just give so much information. It was very overwhelming to somebody who was new to it.
I think that's normal too.
Yes. And I realized, actually, I really need to step back and just make it a lot simpler, a lot more just step by step.
Yeah.
So that is not so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so going back to the law, I mean, it was the same. If I came to somebody with all the law, that was going to be very overwhelming to them. So really, I'm just like, I need this information, and then I'm going to tell you what you actually need to know, and I'm going to leave the rest out.
I know we get so excited.
Yeah, you do. You want somebody to understand the full picture, but really they don't need the full picture sometimes. They just need the part that is relevant to them. So same with somebody's chart. They don't need to know everything. They just need to know what is really going to help me right now with this issue that I'm having. And I think being able to stay on task like that is one of my gifts, being able to focus that way, because I have noticed some people can kind of float around and be here and there, and a lot of really beautiful, poetic, spiritual talk, but I just prefer to be much more to the point. And this is, from my perspective, this is what's most relevant to bring up today.
Yeah, and then there's notes for stuff that's coming to you. Like I always think of it as downloads too. It's like I don't think my brain is that smart all the time. Like there's just things that come that I can see people having breakthroughs or stuff I don't want to tell them yet, but it's coming, and like taking those notes. Oh yeah, maybe in a couple more sessions or whatever. So I hear where you're going with this. So when you are working with someone, what are the things that you're finding? This could be even when you're dealing with the compliance stuff, because my area was auditing. So it was always people trying to tell me they couldn't do stuff, they couldn't get me things like that. And so it really opens the creativity. And I think this happens in our industry right now. Also, it's like it opens up the creativity to understand what angle do I need to go in, because they're not giving me exactly, what I'm trying to get, like through the charts, or when you were doing compliance stuff. And I know that's probably where a lot of you learned a lot about, like how to ask questions and how to work things. But the layer after you build the bridge, you're starting to get things going. What are you finding that a lot of people are holding themselves up on? What is it in their brain? I mean, I know it could be stuff that they learned when they were younger, but I mean, like overall, what are you finding in the population that you're working with, that they're struggling on certain things, and you start becoming more understanding of what areas that you can open up space, because maybe they're not ready to express perhaps maybe the information you need to really help open up some space. Because I know sometimes when I'm working with somebody, they'll just kind of give me one-liners. So I know that you probably have some way of approaching that. But once you open them up, what is it that you're finding that there's a lot of main things here that you're finding in themes, and it could be like around fears, or it could be a specific mindset where they're doing something specifically. What is it that you're finding?
I'm finding that people are really, even though they know that they're burning out and they're pushing themselves, that it's really hard for them to give themselves the permission to actually rest, or to step back and not push themselves in the way that they've been doing for a couple of decades now in their careers.
Yeah.
They might know that that is what's best for them, but it's really hard for them to actually implement it, because they have formed these habits, and these, and maybe in the past people have said, oh, you're lazy, if you want to just hang out and not do anything super productive that day. And so I find that that is something that they struggle with a lot. And in human design, there are certain types that really thrive when they have more rest. Certain people, that's when they really connect to their gifts, and it's actually a requirement. They really need the rest.
Yeah, I have this area that I call nap, and it's like I put in an area. I'm looking at my plaques here, like what I built, and I think of it as like being tenacious, because it's like most of us are just like, we could just keep going and going and going, because that's perhaps how, like what you're saying, human design. But you're being in your tenacious space when you're like, oh, I'm going to go take a nap, because when I take a nap, then things are just going to open up for me, or like I don't feel like I'm in such a grind, and like, but it takes a lot of courage to actually take a break and really believe in yourself, that actually is perhaps maybe your business, or perhaps the process to get somewhere. And I know that I will have a moment where I rest, and all of a sudden something will just come up that I had no idea. I'd never even thought about this, because I'm learning to rest more, but by literally letting things go. So I'm not beating myself up while I'm resting and trying to do both at the same time. Can we go in there about the human design that really is about resting and being able to hear themselves, and learn more from that area? Because you're saying there's quite a few people that you're working with. I know for me too, that are struggling with that. So they'll just keep going and going and going, but that almost, the people I've been around, like it numbs them, where they can't even hear to what their next step is. They're just trying to ask people, what do I do? What do I do? Or what's the latest thing? Or what's happening over here? But it doesn't connect with what they're really doing, and they end up going in circles. So what's with human design that wraps in with not having a hard time resting?
Yeah, so in human design, there are 5 types, And this is only the top layer of human design. There are, of course, many other nuances below that. But of those, at a high level, 70% of the population, they're generator types, either generators and manifesting generators. And
So
they have...
did you say 70% of the population?
Yes. Yeah, 70% of the population
fits into this?
Well, they're generators or manifesting generators. And then the other 30% are the other three types, who are projectors, manifestors, and reflectors.
Wow. Okay. So 70% of when you look at the human design, that kind of feeling guilty around nap or resting, that's a big part of our population. When you look at the population in whole, if I'm understanding that correctly, that's a high percentage of the people.
They're actually... So I want to make clear, every type can burn out, but they tend to burn out in different ways. So the generators and manifesting generators actually do have this sustainable life force, workforce energy, if they're enjoying what they're doing. If they're not, then they burn out. They might be able to go for longer, but they will burn out. Whereas the other 30%, the projectors, manifestors, and reflectors, those types, their energy ebbs and flows much more. And those are the types that really, they do need more rest. And so for whatever reason, my clients it's funny because it's only 30% of the population, but for some reason I attract a lot of those people. And so that's why I've observed it so much.
Yeah. I love that. Go in there a little bit more. So what's with this rest thing? What are you noticing that when they start noticing first, okay, I can rest, and it's just based on the coaching and the focus that you help them in. What's some of the things? And I'm feeling that this is a really good area, because I'm finding that most people that I'm around too, like, they're going in circles, and they are powerhouses. They're visionaries, but they've just been, trying to get to a point, and they're not resting. So it's kind of putting them in a vicious circle, even though they're extremely smart. But on the outside they look like they're all put together, but on the inside they're really struggling. So what is that really helps them understand that this is who they are, and then to go do that, go rest, and then what happens after that? Let's go in there more.
Yeah, I was just having a session with a client who is a projector, and the value of a projector is not the doing; it's more in the perspective that they have. They tend to be able to step back and have this bird's eye perspective of a situation, to see the nuances that other people are missing. And they can also see very deeply into people, have a very focused sort of aura. It's all about energy and mechanics, and they can see the potential in other people. And so when they are overworked, it's very hard for them to tap into those gifts.
Yeah.
Whereas when they are able to actually get the rest that they need, then, when this is in the words of my client, she said, I feel like myself. Yeah. I thought that was so powerful. But a lot of the conditioning is around being a doer like the other 70%, doing, right? Yeah. And so that's the struggle.
I find this conversation so interesting, because it's not feminine, masculine, but we could say it's that, because, the masculine do, feminine, more rest or whatever. But when you start going into human design, you're actually looking at different components. So, I mean, a man could fit into more of the area of needing rest. Is there more women that's in this area that need more rest, and that's where they get the bigger visions, and they can see more hope for others, and that helps them in their relationships, in their business, whatever they're working on? Is it mainly women, or is there some men?
No,
if there are men, can you kind of give an idea of what that looks like for a man's perspective in this?
Yeah. So I don't know. That's a very interesting question, because there are all these percentages in human design of the different types, and there are other elements of a chart too, where they'll say, oh, there are so many people in the population that have this. I have never seen a breakdown as far as men and women, but there are definitely men who are projectors for sure. And so I feel like that's probably even more of a struggle. I personally have not worked with a man who's a projector, but I could see how that could be tough, because there's this expectation in society that a man does and provides. And that's not to say that a projector cannot provide, but they do it in a different way. and it may not exactly fit the stereotype of a male provider.
You were just opening things up for me here. So I'm going to move on just a moment here. So men in our industry, I just went to go see Peter Crone. Maybe not a lot of people know who Peter Crone is, but he's been doing this for about 30 years and a powerhouse when it comes to being a coach. But I've seen people in podcasts that are men that are sensitive, intuitive, but also have a masculine side to them. So, I mean, it's not that you always know how somebody's going to show up exactly what their design is, because there's probably like almost like you have to ask certain questions or kind of see some tendencies to find that. But I find that to be very interesting, because to have a man that's just not out there and doing and working, but somebody that actually can be sensitive to the situation of, within a relationship, or if they're running a business, like within their the workers that are helping them. So if you're running a business, you have people that work for you. And I could see how in men, that would be interesting to have a man by your side that really opened up to be able to partner with you when it comes to being able to see you also. So like where I'm going with this is, I find that it's a partnership when you are guiding somebody, like you're doing your human design, you're looking at astrology. And the more I feel like somebody that knows the person that's really guiding them, the more they feel safe, because they're like, I'm with like-minded people. Like, this is very, very interesting. And that I can open up to them, because now I can really see that they are not judging me. And there's that whole soft spot to help somebody land. And when I think of somebody who takes a nap, I keep thinking it's somebody that is like in tune and sensitive and has like a little bit softer words, maybe, and stuff like that. I would think that's how they kind of show up. But I find that partnership that would be pretty interesting. So I could see having future clients that are men that are doing this too, which is really cool. Is there a extra tenacity in you from coming from a lawyer perspective? And I'm asking that more in an ego-driven way, but then to soften it in the way of like, as a lawyer, and I think of it as a CPA too, I kind of had to calm my ego down a bit. I just thought like, yeah, you're a badass. But now I think, man, I'm a badass. Like, it's something softened in me. There's some kind of transformation that you felt like you needed to do to get in deeper with people and have these types of conversations to create what you're creating?
Yes, I realized that I was coming very much from my head, which is a very lawyer thing. That's what we're always using our brains to figure out problems. And in coaching, you really have to be in the body, and human design speaks a lot to this. And that's been my own journey of coming back into my body, because I didn't think about my body for many years, honestly. I mean, when you're working the hours that you're working in the corporate world, you're actually really ignoring your body in many ways.
Marla, and why I'm asking this question, because so the audience knows, especially as we're sharing it with people, with our audience, we send information out about what this conversation is about. I believe this information is important for everyone, because perhaps somebody feels they are just stuck and they're beating themselves up. And a lot of that has to do with ego, because you're in your mind, fight or flight, and you're expecting yourself to do something, but you haven't given yourself the soft space, which would be more of a cohesive space with the heart. Can we go there? Can you express more of what that transition is when you're watching somebody go from the brain where you're bringing them in and they're being protective and they're not realizing that there's actually another side to that? And what you see once they start opening themselves up into that vulnerability, and what that vulnerability, what can be kind of scary as they start opening themselves up. I think this is important in conversation, because when there's change, authentic change, there's vulnerability. And that vulnerability, people will back out real quick if they don't understand that's part of the process. You think that it'd be like, oh my God, I'm gonna get everything I want because now I'm open and now I can understand things. But there's a lot of things when you're so brain driven that you start actually hearing subconsciously some of the things that you're really breaking yourself down on, and why you haven't been in the body. So when you're working with people like that, that vulnerability that starts opening up. And what they really have to be aware of is it's not an easy route to actually get there, but the protection of having somebody support them as what you're doing, like why somebody want to pay somebody to actually be by their side while they're doing this, so you can keep feeding them the tools and help them keep opening and be there, so that they're like you're a hotline for them, because they're just not understanding that subconsciously stuff's been going. So the first question is, when somebody's coming in, you notice they're out themselves, they're in their brain, very driven, but they're trying to get to somewhere and they're ready to do the work, but they're thinking they're going to be doing all this work. And then you start calming the space for them, and then something opens up. Now you got them in their body. What's that space there once they do that, from opening their brain more to really actually slowing down to be able to see themselves so they can do the work that they need to whatever their goals are, to what happens when they really start opening themselves up? What have you been noticing? They like calling the hotline. Marla, I need to talk to you.
Yeah, I think a lot of the work happens in between the sessions, because it's obviously there's the whatever breakthroughs we have in this session itself, but then what are you doing with what we have worked on in between? So again, going back to human design, there's certain people who they can really get amazing opportunities if they're in the right physical space with people that they enjoy being with. And so if you're one of those people, then where are you spending your time? Are you noticing as you go throughout your day whether your office space feels good to you, whether your home does, whether your neighborhood, the places that you're going to? And if not, then how can you put yourself into places that feel better? So human design is meant to be an experiment. And so you actually do need to put yourself in certain places sometimes, or begin to notice, how you feel, and then bring that back when we meet. And so I would say it's, I like to call them quests. Like, what's your quest during this time, right? Between our sessions, and then what are you bringing back? And then I'll ask, and so what happened when you went into a new space? Or it's honestly getting outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And it's not just taking in the information mentally, but also what are you doing with your body, and with other people, and your interactions with other people as well. And some people, you can see in a chart how sensitive somebody is to other people's energy, to possibly their emotions, to other people's maybe a way of speaking, or to other people's stress. And so then what practices are you bringing into your life to then be able to discern what is yours, what is somebody else's?
That's a complicated one, huh? So you have some tools
Yes.
around that to they can help.
Yes, especially emotions. Yes, because a lot of people we call, the word empath is very widely used, but in human design, it just means you're literally feeling other people's emotions around you. You may be picking up on them more than they are. And it's really impacting you. And so then that's affecting your own decision-making process. And you don't even realize that you're taking on somebody else's emotions. And so that's something to work around. It's not something that's just a one-time thing. It becomes a practice. What practices can you, and I will suggest different practices, but of course, some are going to work better than others. So all of that is a part of what we call deconditioning.
Marla Tseng, I love this conversation. So we went here where we're talking about the experience that you had to be able to be in this type of industry, which I love hearing, because it really explains how it would be to work with you, because you know how to look at things in a way of like, how can I get from here to there and actually speak to a human being, and trying to discover, to be able to be in compliance with the law and things like that. And then so that's like, oh my gosh, the law. And you transition into this industry, and now you're like, oh my gosh, I'm like, this is somebody's life. I get to make this change. So you have that heightened awareness of knowing that if I can get them from a bridge from here to there to get to their goal so they can connect, that this is really big. I think the coaching industry just doesn't get enough kudos for professionals out there that really make a big difference for people. And we really do need safety here. We need so much safety right now. This world is like, it's very interesting, crazy. A lot of things going on every day, changes happening, shifts happening that we weren't expecting. And I appreciate you being in the industry and learning more about what you're doing. I definitely want to give you a link. So in 6 months now, we can catch up on you again, see what you're up to, some of the angles and different things you've been doing. Is there something that I missed that we should add into this conversation? Because I definitely want you here in 6 months. There's something I missed that you'd like to talk about that maybe it will bring this loop together? Maybe I did pretty good this time.
I know. I love. I think we went to so many interesting places,
and perhaps maybe in areas you didn't really think we would. And I hope our audience appreciates this. Anything that came for anybody watching this, and I need to watch it for myself. Like sometimes I'll be driving and I'll have that playing in the background. So this will be on YouTube and just different places. We'll be doing some shorts if that's okay with you, Marla, so your information can get out there to others. But sometimes I listen and when I'm with you, I feel so much. I learn so much from you. But then when I put it on again, it gives me that another layer, because these are words, but those words just become more that open up space for me to start thinking creatively. Okay, Marla said this. This is what I want people to journal on is, what have you learned right now that's already opened you up? Because we're talking about human design. We're talking about naps. We're talking about when you're in the head more and how that bridge to get over to really be in your body so that you can think in a deeper space. Sometimes, for so many years, I didn't think I was very smart. I passed the CPA exam and I stuck up telling myself I wasn't smart. And it was just a cycle, but I didn't know I was putting myself through that. I just knew that I thought that I wasn't very smart. So anytime I was doing something really big, like doing the CPA exam, even in my relationship, I would sometimes throw myself under the bus of really speaking to who I was, because my brain was kind of going at me saying, you're not very smart. And so it showed up everywhere. I think everything tethers together. Your work that you're doing, you're helping people open up to see the true them, because you know how to see them. They start feeling safe and they start seeing themselves, and any of the gyrations that they have, the 60,000 words that we say subconsciously to ourselves every day, you start being able to hear that. And that's where the safety, like what you're saying, in between the sessions. So I love that you brought that up. And I love the depth that you went in about how that looks. So I appreciate your work. How do people get to you so they learn more about what you're doing and understand how they can get involved? Or is there something specific that you want them to go to so they can really be with you and learn more?
Sure. Well, my business is called Many Worlds, Many Possibilities, and that's my website. So
say it again.
Many Worlds, Many Possibilities.
Many Worlds, Many Possibilities.com.
Yes, it's I know it's long, but I just
it's reasonable. Yeah, many worlds, many possibilities. I can even see that with the hashtag and what your vision is, because ours is Speaker Locking Arms. So many worlds, many visions,
many possibilities.
Many worlds, many possibilities.com.
Yes.
Ooh, I like it. Okay, so they can go there, and then how do
I'm also on Instagram, Marla, my first name J, and then my last name Tseng. And so I do one-on-one coaching. I also do one-off human design and astrology sessions if people want to get a taste of working with me. And yes, I would say
good stuff, because we're all looking for tools these days. Okay, so everybody, we're going to jump in there. We need to check on Marla Tseng, and J is your middle initial?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm all excited about like the things that you're doing and how that can, even one session or just following you on Instagram and watching, some of the posts you're doing and stuff, just kind of really understanding what you're doing out there and how you're really changing the world. You're helping people really see themselves and heal from things that they mentally should heal from, so they don't live the rest of their life feeling like I just thought that I was going to be lost forever. And I thought that I was a lost cause, because I really thought my brain was who I was. And it's so cool to be able to live all this. So I hope that you appreciate what you're doing too, Marla. Are you loving life?
Yes, I mean, when I get to do this work, it just makes me feel so happy. It really does, because I've loved astrology since I was in middle school, and then I learned human design later, and then learning these other tools, and they really do expand you in incredible ways.
Yeah. And again, it could be quite painful being expanded, but that's why a lot of people stay who they are, and they just get into the whole cycle of just work and spending money and work and spending money. But isn't it wonderful when you start seeing yourself emotionally grow? You have less triggers. You feel like when somebody says something that you just allow it to be in a space because you realize the other person is going through something. There's so many things you learn, but the vulnerability really needs to be there. So it's really a challenge. But once you get into it, you know that when you're having a hard day, you go, is it really a hard day? Well, maybe I feel kind of raw, but the tools you're teaching and guiding and being with you, that sounds really powerful. Thank you. You have a
Yes.
wonderful day, and everybody get to journaling, get in there, get to know what Marla J. Tseng is doing, and we'll hear from you soon if you want to be interviewed again with us. Love and appreciate you, my friend.
I would love to. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful afternoon.
You
Bye-bye.
too.